For centuries, China has been, and remains, the world's most populous country. According to a 2020 census, China is home to 1.41 billion people. But population experts say the number of working-age people in China is now shrinking at a rapid rate, and that the nation needs to fix the problem fast. When the Communist Party won control of China in 1949, overpopulation was not a major concern. Chairman Mao Zedong said, "Even if China's population multiplies many times, she is fully capable of finding a solution. The solution is production." But nearly 2 decades later, China was facing an overpopulation crisis. The nation's fertility rate reached 6.18 births per woman in 1968. By 1973, there were 882 million people in the country. That's when authorities first decided to start encouraging people to have fewer children. Education campaigns promoted late marriage and fewer births. But in 1979, that encouragement became the law of the land. Under the leadership of China's second paramount leader, Deng Xiaoping, China implemented a one-child policy aimed at slashing the country's birth rate. A nationwide propaganda campaign featured banners that appealed to patriotism, with phrases such as "fewer and better births, a service to the nation." Others warned, "Sound the alarm about population growth and stay vigilant." The one-child policy was strictly enforced in cities. Families who had more than one child were punished with severe fines, and their additional children were often denied access to public education and healthcare. Civil servants who violated the policy lost their jobs. Some local governments went as far as carrying out forced abortions and sterilizations of women. But the one-child policy worked. Births per woman went from 2.74 in 1979 to 1.6 in 2005. The pendulum, however, had swung too far in the opposite direction. Demographic experts say a fertility rate of less than 2.1 births per woman would leave China in a situation where there are too many elderly people and not enough younger ones to take over their jobs or care for them. Among those experts is Yi Fuxian, who started calling for an end to the one-child policy in the early 2000s.
对，生育下降是随着社会经济发展，尤其是教育跟医疗水平提高，生育率是自发下降的。所以，如果人口减少，尤其是年轻的智力资源减少的话，那么我们将这个非资源变成资源的能力也会下降。比如说，由于计划生育减少的小孩，那么就意味着减少的这个消费者呀，人口是最大的资源。
The one-child policy also resulted in a gender imbalance in China. Since most families traditionally prefer sons over daughters, men outnumbered women in China by more than 30 million in 2019. Experts believed it would give rise to a marriage squeeze in China, worsening the declining birth rate problem. Yi and several other academics called for the one-child policy to be relaxed. But things didn't change until 2015, when China finally started allowing couples to have 2 children. Making it legal for couples to have 2 children is one thing. Convincing them to actually have more children is another. And the statistics show it's not working. In 2020, China's fertility rate fell even further to an average of 1.3 births per woman. A recent study in China even warned its population could be halved within the next 45 years. Though the sharp decline may have been influenced by the coronavirus pandemic, it still points to a trend that worries China's leaders. So, the government changed the policy again. In 2021, it announced that families will be allowed, and in fact encouraged, to have 3 children. But that too has been met with a lukewarm response. Some internet users have even openly mocked the government's new propaganda drive. Many young couples have no children at all, citing financial pressures for their decision. And parents who have one child say they can't afford to have two, let alone three.
两个孩子就够了，就没必要再第三个了。又主要也没有那么多钱养他们呀。再一个就是家里空间也不太够，所以我觉得三孩没什么意义。
The government has tried to address these issues. It has launched a crackdown on the private tutoring industry to try to rein in education expenses. And the authorities have introduced property price limits in some Chinese cities. But it's too early to tell whether these sorts of moves will be enough to convince couples to have more children.
新的人口政策只是缩小版的日本的人口政策。日本在这个鼓励生育方面已经花了很大的功夫，比如说他的教育呀、家庭教育已经很便宜了，这个小孩的医疗都是到16岁都是免费的，他给年轻夫妇发钱呀，提供的这个地点的这个住房呀，已经很便宜了，但是生育率还没上来，这个地方政府面对很大债务压力。债务压力的话，我们根本没有财力像日本那样鼓励生育。
China isn't the only country in the world where birth rates are falling. But as home to the world's biggest population, it is where problems related to rapidly changing demographics could unfold on a much larger scale.